Okay, I'm just going to start in a couple of minutes, see if anyone's around to join us. So, this is the first Copyscope in a while. So this is, for those who haven't seen the show before, it's a show about copywriting. And so what I'd like you to do is, if you've got any questions, save them up for the end. I'm going to talk about a particular topic, in this case, tone of voice, and then I'll be answering your copywriting questions towards the end. So let's get started with why you need a tone of voice. And so, what is a tone of voice? A tone of voice is the branding for your writing. So you wouldn't sell a product without a logo or a brand name. So you shouldn't write a web page or a product description without some form of tone of voice. It's this branding for your writing which helps you to write consistently across all of your writing, web pages, product descriptions, brochures, sales letters. But why should you start thinking about your tone of voice right now? Well, the first reason why you should have a tone of voice is because it ensures consistency between different writers. So if you're part of a team, you can ensure that different parts of that team are writing to the same spec. If you are working for a much larger organisation, you can ensure that people in different offices are writing to the same standards and the same guidelines, which means that your audience, your customers who are reading that, they'll get to know your style of language, they'll get to know the way you talk, and will therefore recognise your use of language. The second reason is that it helps when you're working with agencies or freelancers like myself, and also when you're working with virtual assistants. If they have a set of guidelines on your tone of voice, that means that they can write more effectively in the terms, in the style that you use, rather than just type in whatever feels naturally to me. I can write what's natural for the organisation itself. That's the important part. And so that leads me nicely on to the third point, is that your tone of voice guidelines will be there to set the standards, which means that your writing will resonate with your audience. So once you've identified that and created your tone of voice guidelines, they will be a template, they will be a spec of the type of language or the style of writing that your audience will resonate best with. So if you use that style of language, they'll be more likely to buy your products or visit your web page or read your leaflets, because it resonates with them. And reason number 4 why you need a tone of voice is that it makes it more likely that you're going to get your writing right first time. Now, if you don't have those set of guidelines, it's like I was saying earlier, when you're working with agencies, freelancers and virtual assistants, if you don't have those guidelines, you might not be coming across professionally enough, if that's your tone of voice, in the first 2 or 3 drafts, which means you need to spend more time rewriting, redrafting those letters, those leaflets, that content. Whereas if you have a tone of voice guidelines to base your writing on, it's much more likely that you're going to hit the nail on the head first time round. And that means that you can only need to work on smaller tweaks with the copy going forward, rather than wholesale changes around the use of language and the style of the writing. And finally, the other really important reason why you should have a tone of voice is that it helps to settle arguments between you and the other people working for your organisation. You know, there are situations where you'll have disagreements. You know, is the headline powerful enough? Does it communicate your company's values? Whereas if you have this written down as a set of guidelines, your tone of voice guidelines, this means that you can always refer back to those if there are those disputes, and that means that you've always got that one document which says this is how it should be done. So if your tone of voice guidelines say that your writing should be a professional, come across professionally, you might be a legal firm or a financial institution. It's quite common for them to have a quite professional, high level of language when it comes to tone of voice. So if you get into an argument about what constitutes professionalism, professional language, you can refer back to your tone of voice guidelines, and that will give you the definitive answer, and so you don't get into those arguments. So thank you for watching. That's the first Copyscope in a while. We'll be back again next week. I'm going to do a little bit of a mini-series here about tone of voice. So next week we'll move on to how you can start to create your tone of voice. But I don't have any viewer questions for the moment, so I'm going to have to end the show now. But if you do have any copywriting questions, please leave them on the website, vitalitycopywriting.com, or send them to me on Twitter using the hashtag Copyscope. I love answering your questions. It helps me understand what answers you are looking for. So please do share those questions with me, and next week I hope I'll have some cracking questions about copywriting to answer. So thank you for watching. As I say, you can find the website for the show at www.vitalitycopywriting.com. I look forward to speaking to you next week, where I'll take you into the next step about how to create a tone of voice. So that's it from me. Have a great night and speak to you next time. Bye for now.